Maryland hairstylist who incriminated herself by posting footage of her crime on social media, will spend the next 6 months on house arrest. 19-year-old Jayla Cunningham went viral in March of last year after sharing a video of herself dragging a teenage client across the floor of her Prince George's County salon. She believed that the victim was trying to leave without paying and later admitted to cutting the girl's weave out as a way to undo the work she had done. The clip quickly garnered upwards of 50 million views, and the victim's mother wasted no time filing a complaint against Cunningham, who claimed that she was acting in defense of her business and livelihood by removing the service she had performed. She was found guilty of second-degree assault in November and was sentenced to home confinement last week. Cunningham was also ordered to undergo anger management and mental health treatment and will remain on probation after she completes her house arrest. Number 45. Kevin Castiglia. New details of a gruesome triple homicide in Bucks County, Pennsylvania are surfacing following the discovery of the victims' bodies and the arrest of the accused killer last week. Northampton Township Police found 90-year-old Fred Castiglia, 84-year-old Judith Castiglia, and 53-year-old Deborah Castiglia dead inside their home while performing a welfare check at the request of Deborah's boyfriend, who had visited the residence after being unable to reach his girlfriend for several days. He told investigators that he was greeted by Deborah's brother, 55-year-old Kevin Castiglia, who answered the door with a knife in his hand, stated that his sister had gone on vacation and told the man never to return. During their visit to the home, officers also encountered Kevin, who answered the door with 2 knives in his hand and refused to drop the weapons. Police tased him, but it was ineffective and he retreated into the house, leading to a 5-hour standoff that eventually resulted in his arrest. Kevin reportedly confessed to killing the victims and is being held without bail on 3 counts of criminal homicide, 3 counts of abuse of a corpse, and 3 counts of recklessly endangering another person. He's due back in court on February 12th for a preliminary hearing, and authorities have not revealed a suspected motive. Number 44. Marielle Barrios. If 28-year-old Marielle Barrios feels any remorse for beating a pregnant woman with a baseball bat outside the victim's workplace in Racine, Wisconsin, she didn't show it in her booking photo, which shows the young woman grinning ear to ear while being booked on aggravated battery and robbery charges. The attack was captured in recently surfaced doorbell camera footage, which appears to show Barrios and an accomplice assaulting the victim, Giona Lacey, who was reportedly pregnant with the suspect's boyfriend's child. In the video, the suspect could be heard saying, "Beat the baby out and kill the baby," to her unnamed co-conspirator. Lacey later told local news outlet WISN that she was leaving work at 7 in the morning when she was ambushed out of nowhere by Barrios, who she claimed had been stalking her. The assailants stole Lacey's phone and Barrios was arrested in Arkansas 8 days later. Authorities have also charged an unidentified woman for harboring Barrios, who remains in custody as she awaits a bond hearing. Number 43. Tyler McGuire. An imaginary love triangle that drove an Arizona man to kill one of his employees at a Maricopa County pizza shop has resulted in a life sentence without the possibility of parole. While working as a supervisor at the pizzeria in Mesa in late 2022, 31-year-old Tyler Ross McGuire became fixated on a female employee. The woman rebuked his advances, making it clear that she wasn't interested, and McGuire proceeded to direct his frustrations toward another employee, Dizo Segi, whom he believed was also pursuing the woman. Over the following year, McGuire became increasingly angry and hostile towards Segi, who was shot dead in his vehicle outside his apartment complex in December of 2023. Shortly after McGuire's arrest in connection with the crime, his mother contacted police and turned over his handwritten diary, which contained detailed entries about his need to kill and the blame he harbored towards Segi over his romantic failures. Last week, the Maricopa County Attorney's Office announced in a statement that McGuire had been found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison for the unprovoked killing. Number 42. Jacob Sanders. A Wisconsin man is in custody for the first-degree homicide of his own father after he allegedly stabbed the elderly victim dozens of times and stole the senior citizen's car. The series of events leading to the discovery of the victim's body began when sheriff's deputies in Vigo County, Indiana, pulled 34-year-old Jacob Sanders over in his father's 1989 Chevrolet Caprice and noticed blood on his hand. Sanders insisted he had permission to drive the car, but law enforcement remained suspicious to the contrary. When the deputies were unable to reach Jacob's father, They contacted police in Mauston, Wisconsin, and officers were dispatched to the hotel where Michael Sanders lived. Upon entering the room, they found Michael dead and covered in stab wounds. Just a day earlier, officers had responded to a request from Michael to remove Jacob from his room. In a report, a responding member of law enforcement noted that Jacob had expressed extreme frustration, hatred, and anger toward his father. Jacob's sister told police that her brother treated their father like crap, and family members were reportedly taking steps to remove him as the primary beneficiary of Michael's life insurance policy. At the time of the murder, the accused killer is currently being detained in Indiana as he awaits extradition to Wisconsin. Number 41. Davon Holloman. Authorities have announced charges against a New Jersey man who stands accused of murdering a father of 3 in front of his kids as the victim taught his children how to ride their bikes. In a statement last week, the prosecutor's office detailed the allegations against 35-year-old Davon Holloman of Trenton, who's facing charges of first-degree murder, several gun-related counts, and 3 counts of endangering the welfare of a child in connection with the stabbing death of 40-year-old Jimmy Chase in Ewing Township. According to reports, Holloman is dating the mother of Chase's children. A confrontation between the men quickly turned physical, with bystanders capturing footage as Chase's 3 small children attempted to break up the fight. Responding officers arrived to find Chase clinging to life in the street with stab wounds. He succumbed to his injuries the following morning, and Holloman is currently in custody at the Mercer County Corrections Center as the investigation continues. Number 14. Halle Harvey. In an update to a case we discussed in a previous installment of this video, an Ohio woman has been sentenced to 13 to 18 years in prison for shooting her roommate in the head during an argument. The punishment against 26-year-old Halle Harvey came last week, following her guilty plea weeks earlier to voluntary manslaughter for the January 2025 death of 30-year-old Cheyenne Mitchell, who was gunned down in the basement of the women's shared Riverside apartment. Harvey and Mitchell were both living at the residence with their boyfriends, according to reports, which state that the women got into an argument for unknown reasons on the day of the shooting. During the disagreement, Harvey briefly left the room and returned moments later with a 9mm handgun, which she unloaded into Mitchell, only to later claim that she didn't mean for it to happen. While talking with police at the scene, she asked if she was going to prison for life and pleaded for her vape, indicating that she may have lacked a full understanding of the gravity of her actions. In exchange for Harvey's guilty plea, prosecutors dropped aggravated assault and murder charges, the latter of which could have carried a much more serious sentence in the event of a conviction. Number 39. Kendra Cain. An investigation into numerous complaints has led to the abrupt closure of a North Dakota medical spa and the arrest of its owner for practicing medicine without a license. 35-year-old Kendra Cain was taken into custody early last week after detectives determined that she had advertised services that she was not qualified to perform while using an employee's medical license to prescribe medications and perform procedures illegally. Cain reportedly claimed to be a registered nurse despite lacking any such credentials. In a twist of irony, one of the individuals who helped blow the whistle on her alleged unlawful practices was a patient who happens to be a registered nurse and who said she had to coach Cain on how to properly insert an IV. The accused fraudster is charged with reckless endangerment, unauthorized use of personal identifying information, deceptive writings, and practicing as a nurse without proper certification. She was released from custody following her arrest and is due back in court on March 26th. Number 38. Kenneth Simpson. A Missouri man is most likely headed to death row following his recent conviction for shooting 2 police officers and killing one of them. The underlying incident took place on the night of March 12, 2023, when officers Mason Griffith and Adam Sullentrup responded to a report of an irate person at a convenience store in Herman, later identified as 38-year-old Kenneth Simpson. The suspect was wanted on outstanding warrants in multiple counties. He opened fire when the officers tried approaching him to talk, killing Griffith and injuring Sullentrup. Neither of the cops had their weapons drawn, according to witnesses, with one bystander telling the court that Simpson appeared agitated and looked like he was ready for battle. On January 24th, the defendant was found guilty of first-degree murder, first-degree assault, armed criminal action, unlawful possession of a weapon, possession of a controlled substance, and resisting arrest. The jury recommended the death penalty on Friday, and the official sentence will be imposed at a later date. Number 37. Jalen and Charla Pendergrass. A Michigan judge has approved prosecutors' request to pursue upgraded charges against a mother-son duo who are accused of killing the young man's girlfriend and attempting to conceal their crime. 49-year-old Charla Pendergrass and her 24-year-old son Jalen were arrested in May of 2025 after the body of the missing teenage victim, London Thomas, was found stuffed into a heavy tote inside an SUV at a property in Southfield. Police made the discovery after receiving a tip from a friend of Charla's, who told investigators that they had recently helped Charla move a heavy plastic container. Charla and Jalen were initially charged with second-degree murder and tampering with evidence. During a court hearing last week, the judge overseeing the case approved upgraded first-degree murder charges against both defendants, along with an additional count of unlawful imprisonment for each. The ruling came after another former girlfriend of Jalen's testified that he boasted about the murder and that Charla had encouraged him to get mad and kill the victim. Both of the accused killers remain in custody at the Wayne County Jail as they await the next steps in their case. Number 36. Jack Paul. A Minnesota man is facing a potential lifetime behind bars after admitting to the murder of his pregnant sister, whom he killed because she was no longer innocent, and her unborn child. 24-year-old Jack Joseph Ball was arrested in May of 2024 following the discovery of the dismembered body parts of 30-year-old Bethany Ann Israel, which were found scattered across 2 properties in Dakota County, along with the bloody implements that were used to kill her and mutilate her corpse. While investigating the case, police uncovered the suspect's handwritten diaries, which contained in-depth descriptions of why he thought his sister needed to die. During a court hearing last week, Ball pleaded guilty to premeditated first-degree murder and premeditated first-degree murder of an unborn child while asserting a mental illness defense, which means that a jury will be tasked with deciding whether he was capable of understanding the wrongfulness of his actions at the time of the crime. The proceedings are scheduled to begin on May 21st, and the defendant will face a mandatory life term without parole if convicted as charged. Number 35. Anthony Gonzalez. Prosecutors are seeking the death penalty against a man who's accused of murdering a teenage mother while she worked the graveyard shift alone at a 7-Eleven store in Oklahoma City. Police were called to the scene shortly before 3 a.m. after customers found 18-year-old Jaden Anthony dying on the floor, but by the time officers arrived, she had succumbed to her injuries. Surveillance footage showed the young woman greeting a man who said "hi" back before ordering her to open the cash register. Later identified as 24-year-old Anthony Gonzalez, he then proceeded to stab Anthony before fleeing on foot with less than $40 of stolen cash, resulting in his subsequent arrest on charges of first-degree murder and robbery with a dangerous weapon. In explaining his decision to seek capital punishment against Gonzalez, the district attorney's office cited the especially heinous and cruel nature of the attack as aggravating factors. The accused remains in custody with bonds set at $10 million and is due back in court on April 1st. Number 34. Dr. Irene Gaw-Gonzalo. A California man has pleaded not guilty to the murder of his estranged wife, who was found murdered in her burning San Marino home in January of 2025. 56-year-old Dr. Irene Gaw-Gonzalo was a highly successful and well-liked physician in her community, leaving locals heartbroken to learn that she had been beaten to death before her house was set ablaze. Officers responded to the scene after receiving a call from her 62-year-old estranged husband, Yoon Lai, who claimed that he had discovered the fire upon arriving home from taking the former couple's twin sons to baseball practice. Neighbors told investigators that the victim and her husband were undergoing a contentious divorce, with records showing that Dr. Lai had initiated the proceedings several months earlier during the summer of 2024. She had also taken steps to nullify a prenuptial agreement in the months leading up to her death, indicating that she was intent on ending the marriage. Yoon Lai was charged with murder and arson following a 6-month investigation, and he entered his not guilty plea during a court hearing last week. He was initially released after posting a $2.5 million bond, but is currently in custody as he awaits an upcoming bail hearing on February 9th. Number 33. Alyssa Marie Lira. Authorities in Orange County, California, are one step closer to achieving justice in a case of a man who was decapitated by his girlfriend of 2 months, who was recently captured after 5 months on the run. 23-year-old exotic dancer Alyssa Marie Lira became a wanted woman after the beheaded body of 55-year-old Enrique Gonzalez Carvajal was found in her Anaheim apartment in August of 2025. By the time the discovery was made, Lira had fled to Mexico, where she was captured in late January. She has been extradited to the United States and remains in custody as she awaits her arraignment, which is scheduled for February 13th. Authorities have yet to publicly identify a motive, but have thanked the many agencies that worked together to track down and arrest the accused killer, who's been held without bond at the Orange County Jail. Number 32. Rosie Speedlin Gonzalez. A Texas judge based in Bexar County was indicted on criminal charges on Thursday for having an attorney handcuffed in her courtroom during a disagreement that took place in late 2024. 60-year-old Rosie Speedlin Gonzalez was hearing a case to revoke a defendant's probation when the individual's defense lawyer, Elizabeth Russell, asked for a moment to confer with her client, who had just pleaded true to an allegation. Gonzalez denied the request, stating that attorneys are not allowed to coach their clients, but Russell continued to object to moving forward with the defendant's plea. Unwilling to budge on the matter, Gonzalez ordered Russell to be held in contempt. Russell later filed a complaint against the judge, and the case moved slowly before finally gaining traction last week. Gonzalez is charged with unlawful restraint by a judicial officer and misdemeanor official oppression. She was released after posting a $20,000 bond and reportedly remains on the bench while her superiors work to determine whether she should be suspended without pay. Number 31. Andriy Korshunov. An 80-year-old Holocaust survivor and his service dog were fatally mowed down by a speeding Maserati driver while crossing a Los Angeles street last Tuesday night, and the culprit remains at large. Andriy Korshunov, who immigrated to the United States at the start of the ongoing Ukraine war, was struck at around 11:30 p.m. by the male motorist, who ditched the vehicle a few blocks from the crime scene and fled on foot. The Maserati, which had sustained significant front-end damage, had no license plates. Police are currently working to identify the driver, who was still on the run as of Thursday. In the meantime, Korshunov's daughter has started a crowdfunding campaign for help covering her father's final expenses as she grieves amid financial hardship of her own. Number 30. Colorado crooks make off with urn full of cremains. Police in Pueblo, Colorado are searching for the culprits responsible for a bizarre home burglary that took place in late January. Homeowner Geraldine Sierra was at work when she was alerted to activity on her property by her home surveillance cameras. The footage showed two unidentified men exiting a black car and breaking into her house through a sliding back door. Sierra rushed home, but by the time she got there, the intruders were gone. None of her electronics or other typical valuables had been taken, but the urn containing her father's cremated remains was conspicuously absent from the residence, along with some purses and a few pairs of her son's jeans. The victim's father, Patrick, had passed away less than a year earlier after a battle with cancer. Based on the thieves' movements and apparent awareness of the layout of Sierra's home, investigators believe the burglary was targeted. The investigation is ongoing, and anyone with information is encouraged to contact law enforcement. Number 29. Taylor Mayer. In an update to a case we previously covered on this channel, an Indiana man who killed his wife in a fit of rage and sent a photo of her body to another man may spend the rest of his life behind bars. 35-year-old Taylor Mayer of Jeffersonville pulled out all the stops to save his failing marriage to his wife Deborah with a Paris-themed Valentine's Day celebration last year. He suspected that Deborah was cheating on him with a co-worker and was hoping to win back her love, but she seemed less than enthused with his painstaking efforts to woo her. Frustrated beyond all control, Taylor bashed Deborah over the head with a wine bottle and stabbed her 40 times. He then snapped a photo of her body and sent it to the man he believed she was cheating on him with, along with a caption stating, "Your fault." Taylor confessed to killing his wife following his arrest, but he took his case to trial and was found guilty of murder on Thursday. He's currently awaiting sentencing and is due back in court on February 20th. Number 28. Terrell Simms. A Michigan man has been sentenced to decades behind bars for killing a DoorDash driver during a fit of road rage in the Detroit suburb of Ferndale. 26-year-old Mamadou Diallo had just picked up a customer's White Castle order at around 1:45 a.m. on March 9th of last year when a speeding pickup truck driver nearly struck his vehicle as he merged onto the roadway. Infuriated by the close call, the man behind the wheel of the truck, later identified as 39-year-old Terrell Simms, sped past the victim, then slowed down and waited for Diallo to catch up to him. He then fired 6 shots into Diallo's vehicle, fatally striking the delivery driver in the torso. Simms was found guilty of second-degree murder and 2 gun charges in October of 2025, and he was sentenced last week to 37.5 to 80 years in prison for what the local police chief described as a senseless act of violence that took the life of an innocent man who was simply working to make ends meet. Number 27. Vitalie Oprea. Outraged by the sight of 2 women kissing, a Colorado man tried to run the pair over before purposely crashing into their pickup truck, resulting in a 20-year prison sentence. The punishment against 47-year-old Vitalie Oprea was handed down last week following his guilty plea to attempted first-degree murder with a violent crime enhancement. The underlying incident took place in Arapahoe County in February of 2023, when Oprea took his parents' car without their permission and saw what he thought was a lesbian couple being affectionate on a street corner. Witnesses later recalled seeing him making obscene hand gestures before doing a U-turn and accelerating toward the victims, who ran onto the grass to avoid being struck and got into their pickup truck. Oprea rammed into the truck with his car, then exited the vehicle and tried to pull one of the women out of the truck. He fled the scene shortly thereafter and was arrested later that day. Prosecutors dropped numerous charges in exchange for his guilty plea, including an additional attempted murder count, 6 attempted assault charges, and 2 counts of motor vehicle theft. Number 26. Jacqueline Mimi Torres-Garcia. New details have surfaced in the murder of a pre-teen Connecticut girl who authorities say was killed by her own mother and stashed in a large tote. Carla Garcia, her ex-boyfriend, Jonathan Nanita, and her sister, Jacqueline Garcia, are all charged in connection with the death of Carla's daughter, Jacqueline Mimi Torres-Garcia, whom prosecutors believe was murdered during the fall of 2024. During a probable cause hearing for Nanita last week, a 22-year-old woman testified that she impersonated Mimi during a video call with social workers with the state's Department of Children and Families in early 2025. Identified in news reports as Jacqueline Goulet, the witness denied knowing that Mimi was dead. While posing as Mimi, the woman told the DCF worker that she was doing well in school and keeping in regular contact with her family while living with a relative out of state. The testimony is meant to help the judge determine whether to move forward with some or all of the 10 felony charges Nanita is facing. He and Carla Garcia are accused of murder, while Jacqueline faces a child cruelty charge. All 3 suspects appeared in court last week, and the Garcia sisters are due back for their next hearing in March. Number 25. Bianca Esquivel. A pregnant mother paid for her attempt to satisfy a late-night fast food craving with her life early last week when a drunk driver slammed into her car just as she returned to her Anaheim, California home. 24-year-old Bianca Esquivel was expecting her second child with her boyfriend, Oscar, when the couple drove to a nearby In-N-Out for a bite to eat. The pair had nearly arrived back at their residence just after midnight when a Lexus SUV ran a red light at a nearby intersection and struck their Toyota, killing Esquivel and her unborn child, while Oscar suffered a broken arm. The accused drunk driver, 24-year-old Daniel Ramos of Riverside, reportedly showed clear signs of intoxication and was arrested on suspicion of vehicular manslaughter and felony DUI. Authorities say he could face additional charges because Esquivel was pregnant at the time of her death. In the meantime, the victim's loved ones are navigating the difficult process of moving forward without her and helping her young son understand that he will never see his mother again. Number 24. Elizabeth Angle. In one of 2 tragedies of its kind on today's list, a Texas teenager died in a freak sledding accident as the state experienced rare winter conditions last week. 16-year-old soccer player Elizabeth Angle and a teammate hitched a sled to a male friend's car in the aftermath of Storm Fern and went for a joyride in Frisco. But the fun came to an abrupt end when the sled slammed into a curb and crashed into a tree while taking a sharp turn. Angle died from her injuries, while her friend reportedly remains hospitalized in critical condition. The 2 teens are among at least 35 Dallas area youths who suffered sledding-related injuries ranging from broken bones to internal lacerations. In the storm's aftermath, Family and friends are mourning the loss of Angle, who had recently obtained her driver's license and looked forward to enjoying the rare snowfall, unaware of her impending tragic demise. No arrests have been made and an investigation is underway. Number 23. Makayla Mitchell. What began as a joyride among friends in Oklahoma City ended in the death of a young mother and two of her friends behind bars for her murder. The late-night incident took place early last week when 31-year-old Makayla Mitchell hitched a sled to the back of 22-year-old Angel Waltzier's car and rode it while their friend, 24-year-old James Kirk, followed in his vehicle. At some point during the ride, the rope Mitchell was gripping snapped and broke, leaving her stranded on the sled in the middle of the road. Kirk struck her almost immediately afterward, killing her instantly. Both he and Waltzier showed signs of intoxication, according to police, and the men were booked on charges of second-degree murder and aggravated DUI, while Kirk faces an additional charge for child endangerment. The decision to charge the men is not supported by Mitchell's sister, LaDeirdre Love, who told local news outlet KTUL that Mitchell would see their imprisonment as yet another loss to the community. But prosecutors clearly feel different, and as the case gets underway, Mitchell's loved ones prepare for her upcoming funeral, which will take place on February 7th. Number 22. Brandon Garner. A white supremacist gang leader and accused killer in Washington state is also facing animal cruelty charges for sacrificing a horse named Lemon to his alleged accomplice. In what's being described as a bizarre Viking ritual, 42-year-old double homicide suspect Brandon Garner killed the animal after his accused co-conspirator, Cody Olson, was killed in a shootout with police in December of 2023. At the time, the men were wanted for the murders of 57-year-old Robert Riley and 34-year-old Ashley Williams, who were killed during a drug deal gone bad about a month earlier. Pierce County Sheriff's deputies were attempting to stop Olson on suspicion of driving under the influence when the encounter erupted in gunfire, resulting in Olson's death. According to court documents, Garner shot Lemon as a sacrifice to the Norse god Odin, and so his friend had a steed to ride in Valhalla. He's currently on trial for the double slaying as well as Lemon's death, which could result in even more prison time in addition to the 22 years he previously served for other crimes. Number 21. Aaron White. A newlywed couple's future has been put on hold after a Georgia husband's arrest for fatally shooting his bride's stepfather during their wedding. 33-year-old Aaron White was charged last week in connection with the incident, which took place in Butts County a year and a half earlier in July of 2024. According to news reports, White intervened when an unruly guest snapped at his wife, Kayla, whose stepfather, 44-year-old Jason Mohan, stepped in and sucker-punched White. Mohan and White got into a struggle which continued as the two men disappeared into some nearby woods. At some point, Mohan pulled a gun and began shooting at White, who retrieved a gun from his vehicle and returned fire. Mohan died from 7 gunshot wounds while White was treated for a bullet wound to the hand. White maintains that he acted in self-defense and Kayla stands by him, but he was indicted on a felony murder charge on Wednesday after a first grand jury declined to move forward with the case. Even the local sheriff stands behind White, telling WSB-TV that he believes he has an innocent man in his jail. The outcome remains to be seen. Number 20. Vijay Kumar. Police in Lawrenceville, Georgia encountered a horror scene while responding to a report of shots fired at a local residence before sunrise on Friday morning. The 911 call came from the preteen daughter of 51-year-old Vijay Kumar, who hid in a closet while her father massacred 4 other family members. Officers arrived to find the murdered bodies of Kumar's wife, 43-year-old Mimu Dogra, along with 33-year-old Gaurav Kumar, 37-year-old Nidhi Chanda, and 38-year-old Harish Chanda, the latter 3 of whom lived at the home. The victims had all been shot to death after Kumar and Dogra showed up at the residence with their daughter in the middle of an argument. Although authorities have not specified what the disagreement was about or what exactly led up to the deadly violence. 2 other children survived the carnage after hiding in the closet with the couple's daughter. Kumar was arrested near the crime scene and remains in custody on 4 counts of felony murder, 4 counts of malice murder, 4 counts of aggravated assault, and multiple counts of cruelty to children. His alleged motive remains unclear. Number 19. Norman Lee Johnson. A Texas father stands accused of capital murder for the double homicide of his cousin and her husband, who were his biological daughter's adoptive parents. According to news reports from last week, 42-year-old Norman Lee Johnson drove across the state from Harris County to the Katy area where he fatally shot Christopher and Trinette Lopez inside their home. Surveillance footage shows the suspect arriving at the victim's home during the pre-dawn hours and fleeing in the wake of a commotion and several gunshots. The 52-year-old victims, who were high school sweethearts and had been married for 28 years, had adopted Johnson's daughter following a protracted custody battle. Investigators eyed Johnson as a suspect based on threats he had previously made against the couple, which had resulted in his arrest on a harassment charge in 2024. He had been banned from seeing his daughter without the oversight of Child Protective Services and is even less likely to ever see her again following his arrest on capital murder charges. Johnson was booked into the Williamson County Jail early last week and remains in custody as he awaits his first court appearance. Number 18. Nedas Revuckas. An Illinois teenager is facing charges for stabbing a pregnant mother 70 times and setting her home ablaze during a Facebook Marketplace meetup early last week. 19-year-old Nedas Revuckas responded to an ad about a Ford Ranger pickup truck and made plans to meet with the seller's wife, 30-year-old Eliza Morales, to exchange the license plates. The interaction was captured on surveillance video, which shows the 5 months pregnant woman handing Revuckas a screwdriver outside her Downers Grove apartment building. Just moments later, Revuckas could be seen entering Morales' unit while engaging in a struggle. The door closed behind him and he fled the scene just minutes later, at which point smoke began to spew visibly from the apartment. Morales and her unborn child died from their injuries, while her elderly pit bull survived with a stab wound to the face after escaping through a screen door. In the meantime, police arrested Revuckas at his home where they found the pickup truck parked outside. The suspect reportedly confessed to killing Morales out of anger over the pickup truck's condition and was booked into custody on charges of first-degree murder, intentional homicide of an unborn child, armed robbery, aggravated arson, and animal cruelty. He's currently hospitalized after being found in his jail cell with critical injuries and is due back in court on February 18th. Number 17. Thomas Moss. 4 out of 5 suspects who are accused of being involved in the attempted hit on a judge and his wife in Tippecanoe County, Indiana, went before a judge last week. The victims, Steve and Kim Mayer, were shot at their Lafayette home on January 18th. 2 days before, 43-year-old Thomas Moss was due to go to trial in an unrelated case. Authorities believe the suspects targeted Mayer in an attempt to impede the upcoming proceedings against Moss, who's affiliated with the Vice Lords gang and a high-ranking member of the Detroit-based Phantom MC motorcycle club. But the victims survived and Moss is now facing a host of additional charges, including attempted murder, conspiracy, aggravated battery, obstruction, intimidation, and more. 32-year-old Blake Smith is accused of buying the gun that was used in the attack and remains held on $3 million bond. The alleged shooter, 38-year-old Vice Lords member Aileen Ferguson, remains in custody with bonds set at $4 million. Prosecutors are accusing 45-year-old Amanda Millsap of offering Moss's victim in his other case a $10,000 bribe in exchange for not testifying against him. She's scheduled to go to trial on May 6th alongside Smith and Ferguson, while 61-year-old Zenada Greer faces charges for allegedly driving Ferguson to the crime scene on the day of the shooting. Number 16. Dylan Blake Chandler. Faced with the prospect of job loss, a Maryland security guard buckled under stress during a performance evaluation and fatally shot his co-worker. The incident took place on Wednesday at the Northrop Grumman facility in Anne Arundel County, where 26-year-old Dylan Blake Chandler had fallen under criticism for his substandard job performance. After being pulled aside to discuss his shortcomings, he opened fire on 37-year-old Joseph Keith Amman, prompting an unnamed third employee to leap into action and disarm him before anyone else could be harmed. After being taken into custody, Chandler reportedly told investigators that he had snapped because he felt his employer was failing to hold Amman accountable for his own less than stellar actions on the job. He was charged with first and second degree murder and remains held without bond as he awaits a preliminary hearing, which is tentatively scheduled for next month. Number 15. Salamanca soccer field slaughter. 11 people were killed and at least 12 others were injured when a group of gunmen opened fire toward the end of a soccer game in the Mexican city of Salamanca last week. At least one woman and child were injured in what's being described as a regrettable and cowardly attack. The massacre marked the latest in an ongoing crime wave in the city as well as in the state of Guanajuato, which saw Mexico's highest homicide rate last year. The region is plagued by turf wars between rival cartels and fuel theft from its 7 refineries. But the authorities remain devoted to combating this seemingly endemic violence. According to news reports, the mass shooting came amid tensions between a local gang known as the Santa Rosa de Lima and the Jalisco New Generation cartel. An investigation is ongoing while state and federal authorities coordinate to increase security throughout the area. Number 14. Neo Langston. A Twitch streamer and friend of rapper David was arrested at his mother's house in Helena, Montana for failing to show up at a grand jury proceeding for a Los Angeles homicide case that he had been summoned to testify as a witness in. News reports from last week state that 23-year-old Neo Langston was quickly transferred to the custody of the LAPD and has since been released after posting a $60,000 bond. While it's unclear what case Langston had been mandated to testify in, news sources speculate that his required appearance has something to do with the murder of teenager Celeste Rivas Hernandez, whose dismembered body was found in an abandoned Tesla owned by David in September. Rivas Hernandez had been reported missing nearly a year and a half earlier in April of 2024, and speculation over her death is centered largely on her alleged relationship with the older musician. David, whose real name is David Burke, has not been arrested or charged in connection with the case but is reportedly a person of interest. Several witnesses have testified before a grand jury and the investigation continues. Number 13. Gervonta Davis. A 2-week manhunt for a professional boxer came to an unceremonious end in Miami on Wednesday with the capture of 31-year-old Gervonta Davis, who's accused of violently assaulting his ex-girlfriend at her workplace. The underlying incident took place in October of last year when the suspect entered Tootsie's Cabaret and was seen confronting the victim, Courtney Rossell, who was working as a cocktail waitress. Surveillance footage appears to show the assailant grabbing Rossell by the hair and throat before forcing her out into the parking lot. Witnesses also supported Rossell's allegations, telling investigators that this was not the first violent incident that had taken place between the two. Davis's arrest came roughly 2 weeks after the Miami Gardens Police Department issued a warrant in connection with the incident. He was booked into the Turner Guilford Night Correctional Center on charges of false imprisonment, attempted kidnapping, and battery, but no longer appears to be in custody, indicating that he posted the $16,000 bond necessary to secure his freedom amid the ongoing case. Number 12. Sha'Carri Richardson and Christian Coleman. An Olympic sprinter who has been at the center of several controversies in recent years has just landed in the news again, this time for driving over 100 miles per hour in Orange County, Florida. 25-year-old Sha'Carri Richardson was dangerously tailgating and traveling across lanes of travel to pass other motorists, according to a law enforcement official who spoke with TMZ regarding the athlete's arrest. Richardson was booked into custody on Friday for dangerous excessive speeding. Her boyfriend and fellow Olympian, 29-year-old Christian Coleman, was arrested during the same traffic stop for resisting after he pulled up to the scene and interjected in the situation. He reportedly refused orders to wait by his car and, according to police, was seen dropping drug paraphernalia into the grass. This is the second time Richardson has made headlines for her run-ins with the law over the last year, with her previous arrest taking place in July at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. In that case, she was accused of shoving Coleman, who refused to press charges, stating that he declined to be a victim. Number 11. Morgan Morrow. In what could perhaps be described as the latest in a seemingly endless series of Americans getting carried away with their political sentiments, a West Virginia librarian stands accused of trying to recruit people on social media to assassinate President Donald Trump. According to a criminal complaint, 39-year-old Morgan Morrow of Ripley posted a TikTok video saying, "Surely a sniper with a terminal illness can't be a big ask out of $343 million. Investigators paid a visit to the Jackson County employee's home where she allegedly admitted to making the video and that it was intended as a threat against Trump, while claiming that she had no actual plans to act on her words. Morrow was charged with 1 count of threats of terroristic acts, and her employer said in a statement that it's addressing her conduct internally. Speaking to local news outlet WOWK, Jackson County Sheriff Ross Mellinger clarified that it's okay for someone to exercise their right to free speech by criticizing the government, but not with statements that are designed to encourage, inspire, or entice others to carry out the threatened act, regardless of whether the speaker publicly intends to personally do so. Number 10. Taylor Simpson. The search for a missing Georgia teenager ended in a high-speed chase and a rollover crash, which was captured on dashcam video that surfaced last week. It's unclear whether Fayette County Sheriff's deputies knew who they were pursuing when they spotted a red SUV that had been reported stolen in the city of Newnan. The driver, later identified as 17-year-old Taylor Simpson, refused to pull over and sped off, reaching speeds as high as 115 miles per hour as he swerved into the oncoming lane along narrow, winding roads. Deputies were about to cancel the chase for safety reasons when Simpson, who had recently been reported missing, lost control of the vehicle and overturned. The SUV landed on its roof, and the teen, who luckily only suffered minor injuries, was booked into custody on a litany of charges including speeding, reckless driving, running a stop sign, giving a false name to an officer, obstruction of an officer, theft by receiving stolen property, fleeing or attempting to elude police, and more. Number 9. Burger King brawl. 5 Burger King workers in Augusta, Georgia began their shifts as usual on Thursday, only to land in jail while on the clock after becoming entangled in a massive brawl. The fight reportedly began when 2 employees showed up late for work and quickly escalated, leading to 911 calls, claiming that shots had been fired. Although responding Richmond County deputies determined that no guns had been discharged, they arrived to find multiple employees fighting with one another, one of whom had a gun and was accused of pointing it at a co-worker, but no one admitted to possessing or pointing the weapon, and that part of the altercation was not caught on camera. So no one was charged in accordance with such, although all 5 of the individuals involved in the brawl were arrested. 20-year-old Anaja Kelly, 19-year-old Malcolm Collier, 19-year-old Octavion Collier, 18-year-old Kayla Davis, and 17-year-old Devin Lewis are all facing disorderly conduct charges and have been fired from their jobs. Number 8. Lindsey Jae Minshew. A Florida doctor has landed in hot water with the law after she stole nearly $3,000 worth of merchandise from a Target store and drove a stolen car. The incident took place in Jacksonville, according to news reports from last week, which state that 40-year-old Lindsey Jae Minshew pulled into the parking lot in a $130,000 Porsche 911 roughly a half hour before she entered the store. She left the store with unpaid items valued at $2,716 and was later arrested after being identified as the suspect in the theft. Minshew was charged with grand theft for the ill-gotten Target merchandise, and it remains unclear whether she'll face additional charges in connection with the stolen Porsche. She's been a doctor since 2012 and is licensed to practice in both Florida and Pennsylvania, and whether or not she loses her medical license over her newfound legal woes remains to be seen. Number 7. Fabian Leon. Newly released security footage shows how America's busiest airport remained safe during an attempted security breach last fall when a quick-thinking traveler took down a suspect who tried to bypass a TSA checkpoint. 40-year-old Fabian Leon could be seen rushing through Hartsfield Atlanta International Airport and shoving a TSA agent to the ground, prompting bystander Mark Thomas to spring into action without hesitation. Thomas lunged at Leon and tackled him to the ground. The Good Samaritan later told Fox 5 that Leon remained strangely calm after being body slammed, and the news outlet reported that the suspect admitted to taking drugs and drinking alcohol shortly before the incident. Leon was restrained without further incident and was charged with simple battery and avoiding security measures. During his interview with Fox 5, Thomas said he would intervene again if necessary, while noting that the airports could benefit from a heavier law enforcement presence. Number 6. Sean Grayson. In a conclusion to a police brutality case that sparked protests and made national news headlines, a former Sangamon County, Illinois sheriff's deputy has been sentenced to prison time for the fatal shooting of an unarmed black woman who had dialed 911 over a suspected prowler outside her home. 31-year-old Sean Grayson opened fire on 36-year-old Sonia Massey at her Springfield residence during the early morning hours of July 6, 2024, out of an apparent fear that she was going to douse him with a pot of hot water that was sitting on her stove. He was fired 10 days later and was subsequently charged with first-degree murder, misconduct, and aggravated assault with a firearm. The jury found Grayson guilty of the lesser charge of second-degree murder following his trial last October, and he was sentenced on Thursday to 20 years in prison followed by 2 years of probation. He received credit for time served and will be required to serve roughly half his sentence under state law, which means he'll likely be released in 10 years. Number 5. Michael Lynch. Newly surfaced police body cam footage captured the final moments of a harrowing standoff at a Brooklyn hospital that left a patient dead. Several weeks prior to the video's release, NYPD officers responded to the Brooklyn Methodist Hospital in Park Slope, where they encountered a bloody man who had barricaded himself inside his room with an elderly patient and an employee. 62-year-old Michael Lynch refused orders to drop a broken piece of toilet that he was wielding as a makeshift blade, and the tense interaction continued for several minutes before he exited the room and charged at the cops. Officer Jason Liu fired one round at Lynch, a former NYPD officer himself who resigned in the 90s, while 2 colleagues deployed tasers, which proved ineffective on the erratic patient. Lynch retreated into the room and continued refusing to drop the toilet seat while remaining combative, despite the continued use of tasers, prompting Officer Liu and Officer Brandon Bradley to fire 3 more gunshots. He died at the scene, and an investigation is underway to determine whether the officer's use of deadly force was justified. Number 4. Aileen Martinez. A Florida cosmetology student was shot dead in broad daylight in the parking lot of her beauty school in Davie by her ex-boyfriend, who also died after he was found clinging to life at the crime scene. 20-year-old Aileen Martinez was found deceased in her vehicle outside the Aveda Institute of South Florida after gunshots rang out, prompting at least 2 nearby schools to go into lockdown while police responded to the scene. The unnamed 25-year-old gunman, who succumbed to his wounds after being rushed to the hospital, allegedly stalked Martinez prior to the shooting, according to the young woman's family. The investigation is ongoing, and authorities have yet to publicly speculate on an alleged motive or the circumstances surrounding the murder, beyond acknowledging that Martinez previously had a relationship with the man. Number 3. Samuel Calderon. Shocking footage obtained by the New York Post shows the moment an explosion caused the hallway of a Bronx apartment building to become engulfed in flames, leaving 1 resident dead. The video surfaced on Thursday following the arrest of 55-year-old Samuel Calderon, who's accused of starting the blaze by stealing the stoves from his estranged baby mama's 13th floor apartment in hopes of selling it for a gram of crack cocaine. Calderon, who's described in news reports as a homeless career criminal, entered the unit in violation of an order of protection. The theft triggered a gas leak that traveled up to the 17th floor of the building, resulting in the explosion. A 16th floor resident, 60-year-old Ronald McAllister, died in the blast, while a 37-year-old man was hospitalized with critical injuries. 5 other injured individuals were listed as being in stable condition, and Calderon remained on the run for 3 days before being arrested on suspicion of murder, manslaughter, burglary, petty larceny, and criminal contempt. He reportedly admitted to causing the explosion while knowingly violating his ex's protective order and remains held without bail pending the outcome of the case. Number 2. Spring Weems. While responding to a call about a fight on Wednesday, police in Edmond, Oklahoma, encountered 2 teenage boys, one of whom accused the other of killing their adoptive mother and stuffing her into a trash can. Officers searched accordingly and found the body of 49-year-old Spring Weems, resulting in the arrest of one of the boys on suspicion of first-degree murder. He's being held at the Canadian County Juvenile Detention Center and has yet to be formally charged as the investigation continues. was a single mother who took both boys into her $340,000 home located outside Oklahoma City. Authorities have clarified that there are no other suspects in the case and are withholding information about the victim's suspected cause of death pending autopsy results. Number 1. Mark Anderson. In a bizarre attempt to spring a notorious accused killer loose, a Mankato, Minnesota man showed up at the detainee's federal jail in Brooklyn, New York, on Wednesday evening posing as an FBI agent. Later identified as 36-year-old Mark Anderson, he claimed to have a judge's order to release Luigi Mangione, who's facing a litany of federal and state charges for fatally shooting United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson in early December of 2024. When asked to present his credentials, Anderson showed a staff member a Minnesota driver's license and stated that the bag he was carrying contained weapons. Inside the bag, employees found a pizza cutter and a barbecue fork. In the meantime, Anderson threw a stack of papers at jail workers and was arrested for impersonating an FBI agent. The documents pertain to lawsuits that the suspect apparently plans to file against the U.S. Department of Justice, according to news reports, which state that Anderson moved to the Big Apple for a job opportunity that fell through and was working at a pizza parlor in the Bronx. His lawyers argued in court that he's mentally ill and needs treatment, but the judge remanded him without bail at the same facility he had tried to free Mangione from.